Why do the Chiefs believe that nobody thinks they're any good? And this narrative that everybody's doubting them.
Kansas City might be playing the woe is me. I'm definitely sure they're sick of the referee conversation as well here around Kansas City. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's what comes with the territory.
Do the officials live in Kansas City or do they just come to visit there?
Well, we just have them on payroll, it's just easier that way. That way they can, live wherever they need to and come into Kansas City, of course, when it only matters most for the Chiefs.
I saw a video of Mahomes and a ref kissing online. That was wild.
That's real, right?
Hey, love is love. Love is love. But I thought that was a little bit inappropriate.
I don't know about you, Dan, but I saw a referee go over and comfort your quarterback on the sideline. So I don't know about you.
Well done.
But now.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel presented by Connors and Ferris. This week, we do it again. We are joined by a Mount Rushmore guest of the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. Once again, joined by Hayley Lewis. Appreciate it as always, Hayley. Mike Catalana, myself. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Appreciate it as always, Hayley. Long time no see.
Listen, we're just family at this point. I was talking with Matt Beauvais earlier, and I'm like, God, you guys might as well just be in the conference, come on out to the AFC West because we're going to see you 2 times a year.
Yeah.
John Scott was talking that we should have rented an Airbnb. We should have an Airbnb in Kansas City, and we can rent it when we don't.
Yeah, just buy it. We'll rent it outright. Buy it, split it up, go out there every year. Yeah, why not?
All right. So, Hayley, I want to ask the first question, and maybe it's the hard-hitting question of why do the Chiefs believe that nobody thinks they're any good, and this narrative that everybody's doubting them.
Okay. Well, I was going to come on here being a little poor me. Kansas City has had such a bad season. I mean, seriously, those have been all the conversations. It sounds like such privilege talking how I'm going to, and like the little silver spoon in your mouth. But Kansas City's had this elite run, this dynastic run where they're going to do something that's never been done in NFL history before, hopefully potentially getting the chance to three-peat. And they've done so in just a mixture of ways. I mean, you guys have seen it. You guys have been around since the 2021. That was the first time that they met in the playoffs, correct?
AFC Championship. Yeah.
Okay. And it's just, which was the 2020 season, but the 2021 calendar year. Okay. And it's been just a weird way of which they've done it, right? They had Tyreek Hill, then they did it without Tyreek Hill. They did it with the culmination of wide receivers. They did it with the defense. And now this year they do it with 3 points, 1 point, maybe 7 points, and somehow find their way down the stretch, being able to have this historic winning season, but yet not feeling like a winner at the same time. So Kansas City might be playing the woe is me. I'm definitely sure they're sick of the referee conversation as well here around Kansas City. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's what comes with the territory. You got to accept that this is going to be the conversation if you're going to continue doing what you did and continue doing what Tom Brady did and what he had to endure as well.
They are enduring winning Super Bowls, but they are getting through. Now, I want to ask you this, and this will be the last time that I ask about, like that sort of privilege. But do the officials live in Kansas City or do they just come to visit there?
Well, we just have them on payroll, it's just easier that way. That way they can, live wherever they need to and come into Kansas City, of course, when it only matters most for the Chiefs.
Well said.
Yeah. Okay. So they do get that. What I always say about the Chiefs, and I saw the Bills do it Sunday, is when you get a break, might be a bad call, might be just lucky, like whatever it happens to be. The thing about the Chiefs is they always seem to take advantage of it. So while we can say they get the breaks, we see it happen. As you've seen this team go through all those changes, especially with Mahomes, are there moments you just forget about doubting they can get this done? Because I'm not even trying to be hyperbolic here, but it seems like they just figure out a way in every game. Does it almost get to the point where you're like, some way they'll figure it out?
Yeah, and I think that's maybe where we're at this season, because there's been so many other times where my confidence level has just been at an all-time high because of what they've been able to do during the regular season, what we've seen. And this year, we haven't seen them really close it out. We haven't really seen them be able to blow out a team like Buffalo has been able to do. And so I think a lot of times you want to doubt that they have the ability to go up against these great teams that they're going to have to go through, like Josh Allen, where this year it seems like Josh Allen has finally really hit his stride. I mean, he's always had the talent, but it seems like he's really honed it in this season. And you think, okay, they got past Miami on the road, or excuse me, Miami home last year, then Buffalo on the road, Baltimore on the road, and then went and got it done in the Super Bowl. Then you look and you're like, okay, they did that. That was hard. But then you look at this year and you're like, gosh, are they really going to get through Buffalo again? But every time I say or doubt or do anything to basically undermine Patrick Mahomes, I always put my foot in my mouth. So, I mean, yeah, you might say it's me being a homer, but really I'm trying to protect my reputation, because over and over again, I've said it to you, Dan. I've been like, this is your year. This is the year that Buffalo gets it done. I remember even texting you during that 13-second game. I was like, thank God we don't have to go to the Super Bowl again.
So we got, how were we, 4 minutes into this interview until she brought up 13 seconds? I see how it is. I thought we were friends.
It's rent free. I'm so sorry. It just lives here constantly.
Yes.
Yeah. What is it maybe about this team this year? Because we see it just maybe from the outside perspective, but you being there, being around the team, like, what is it that has been that secret sauce outside of Patrick Mahomes that has been able to find ways? Because we talked earlier in the year, I remember joke around saying the Bills were winning Chiefsy. Like they were just finding ways. Nobody's really going off on the stats, but they're still just stacking up wins. Like, how have the Chiefs kind of done that from your side being there?
I think the best way to say it is consistency. Consistency finds a way to win. And over again, Kansas City has been consistently good enough. They have the tenured coaching staff. They have the locker room culture. They have guys who have been there before. And consistently, week in and week out, they do just enough to get it done. So I think maybe it's not necessarily like a secret sauce. It's just the fact that Kansas City knows how to close out games, and they've consistently done it in high level situations, in very, stressful moments. We've seen Patrick Mahomes continue to perform. Not to knock on Lamar Jackson at all. He had an incredible game against you guys. And honestly, I thought that had it been for that 2-point conversion, that, it might have continued going on. But in those high moments, and again, not trying to knock on him, but it just hasn't panned out, right? And in the high moments of stress, when it needs to go the Chiefs' way, it has consistently fallen in Kansas City's, favor. So I think that has been one of those points where they can just kind of lean on that mentality. But if you want me to sum it up, there's no stat. I can't quantify it for you, because we've been trying to do that, and that's why people are latching on to this, referee storyline, which again, there is a lot to divulge in that conversation. But I think really there's no way to put a bow on it and wrap it up for you perfectly and sum up exactly why the Chiefs are continuing to do this, outside the fact that they have a guy named Patrick Mahomes, and Andy Reid ain't leaving anytime soon.
Yeah. Let me ask you about Kelsey. All the great defensive coordinators in the league constantly try to figure it out. And the answer comes back all the time is like, how is he always open? How does he just get open?
Yeah.
They don't know, but I understand, Tell me how he gets open all the time.
Can we talk about the fact that Travis Kelce was 30 years old on the field this past Saturday versus how old he actually is? Because for the first time, we saw a postseason version of Travis Kelce, where usually during the regular season, he's so consistently good. It's been a little different these past 2 seasons, and now all of a sudden he's like, I still got that. I still have that yak percentage. I'm still able to make these big plays. And I think with Travis Kelce, it's been, he doesn't need to prove himself anymore, but he constantly comes up in these clutch situations. And you said it, no one's really been able to figure out how it keeps happening. I think it's the intangible that Kelce and Mahomes have. The thing where you see them on the sideline, and maybe you guys don't see these videos as much because, again, I'm more engulfed in Kansas City media, where the team puts out, media clips of them on the sideline, their conversations on the sideline. And Mahomes is like, I didn't even know you were going that way. And he goes, I didn't either. Like, I just happened to be there. And then we were there and we connected. And it's like the intangible, you can't put your finger on it, because these two just have a chemistry where he knows what Mahomes is thinking and Mahomes knows what Kelce is thinking before they even act out on what they're thinking. And that's something that we've continued to see throughout those high those high stress moments that just seem to fall in the Chiefs' favor. And I don't know any other team right now, of course, that has that dynamic of a relationship.
Yeah. Speaking of relationships, I know the game's going to be awesome. We can't wait to be there and all, but doesn't Taylor Swift have anything better to do than to keep showing up at games?
She is a busy gal. You would think. You would think. That is I was happy though that they waited a little while before they put her on the screen in the Texans game, but still, I mean, it's an endless battle there.
What is the status or maybe the confidence level of the offensive line? Because it has seemed like it used to be. I mean, it's any great quarterback. If you want to try and, get in Mahomes' head or the Brady's or the Burrows, like, you got to affect them. So where is the comfort level, the confidence of this Chiefs O-line, which has kind of been a revolving door at times this year?
I mean, it's not great. It's definitely an issue for the offseason. It has to be addressed. I think ever since Kansas City decided to take their all-pro left guard, Joe Thuney, and move him out to left tackle, they bring in Mike Caliendo to fill in the void there. There's always been a little bit of they've had to give up a little bit, right? They all of a sudden found way better pass protection. During the time that Joe Thuney moved out to left guard, they only allowed 1 sack on Patrick Mahomes as compared to the 35 other times Mahomes was sacked before those final 3 weeks. The thing is, they gave up a little bit on the run game, and I think you're going to see that. He's a left guard for a reason. Yes, you have to be versatile on the offensive line, and Andy Reid loves that out of his linemen, but you're on an island out there as a left tackle, so they've had to give up a little bit of that run game that was working for them so well for a little more of that pass protection. So it's an issue. We'll have to see how it goes against them with the mismatch that they have against the Buffalo Bills and what they choose to really emphasize, because there's a lot, as I was looking through this matchup, there's a lot of things that work in Buffalo's favor, but then coincidentally, a couple of things that really do work in the Chiefs' favor. So we'll have to see how it works out.
Yeah, one of the things that I think people thought was really going to work out, and it started that way, was DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
16 snaps in the playoff game, not really a factor at all. If you look at December and January, his numbers are really nothing. Like almost to the point where you're like, where is he? So where is he?
I mean, Xavier Worthy's there. We've seen his.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah.
How'd you like that trade?
Yeah. We know.
I mean,
Dwayne
thanks
Carter
again.
was inactive. Hey, Dwayne Carter had a good amount of tackles this
there
year.
You go.
Yeah.
But not as, Go on.
I'm just to say, I mean, to your point further, yes, absolutely. DeAndre Hopkins was pretty much non-existent against the Texans, and we saw Travis Kelce, Xavier Worthy, Kareem Hunt kind of be those guys. And when I was going through the season, I was trying to find a pattern, because usually it's 2 players on the offense that have like a really good game, and then the next game it's 2 completely different players, and then the next game it's a different pair. And it always just seems to be, there's really no pattern that you can follow, because I even would try to match it up with, okay, well, maybe it's just the game plan, the scheme that they're playing. Maybe this is what they do against the Chargers. No, it's not the same. The Chargers, the first time they face them in the regular season versus the last time, not the same 2 guys that pop off. But it is interesting that they have the ability, that their offense is so deep that it really doesn't matter if DeAndre Hopkins has a great day, because he's not the only guy who can get it done for the Chiefs. He might have a great day against Buffalo, and then Travis Kelce kind of has the day that he had against Buffalo in week 11. We'll just have to see. But I think the thing that's hard for the Bills is that they have to pick their poison. There's so many people from the arsenal that Patrick Mahomes has at his fingertips for Buffalo to try to figure out. I do not envy any defensive coordinator in this league.
And from the moment he got back on the field, they've targeted Hollywood Brown. Like, he's gotten a lot of snaps. He's moved into that sort of that prominent role along with, I mean, Worthy has, I think he's by far now the most targets, but they seem to want to get the ball to Brown.
Yeah, that deep threat, we'll have to see if that's what they go with, or maybe they can potentially see if they can get this run game going. But I also am curious about what the Bills are going to do. The Bills have been, the last 2 weeks, you guys ran all over. And those were like some of the top run defenses in the league.
Listen, Dan, he doesn't like the run game. He's had to grudgingly come around. He knows the Bills are
Cook's cooking,
kind of a running team.
Well, she talked about all of the offensive weapons that Mahomes has, and all I could think of was, but all of their guys wear shoes into the game.
Yes.
So like Mahomes doesn't have Matt Collins.
Matt Collins, yes.
So yeah, switching a little bit to the defensive side, we know it's Spags. We know the blitzes will come from anywhere. The Texans apparently didn't know that. They were unaware. They seem to be getting healthier, especially in the back half of the defense. Where is their level of play? Because they've seemingly been, McDuffie is all pro for a reason. He's outstanding. Another guy the Bills missed out on. I digress, but where is the confidence level in the defense?
I mean, the defense is going against one of the best offensive lines. I mean, Josh Allen's offensive line is very stout, and it's going to be hard to bring the pressure. Now, I was looking back at Week 11, and yes, these teams are different, so I'm not trying to reference it too much. Like, that's at all going to help us predict what happens on Sunday. But Kansas City was able to pressure Josh Allen, but just never able to really get to him. You didn't really see it as much on the stat sheet, but the pressures were there. I think when we look at this defense and you look at the front seven, they're a very strong front seven, but their accolades haven't really been there all season long. So we'll have to see how that pans out. I'm more confident in their secondary. I think the last time we actually talked, Dan, I was really worried about the secondary because you mentioned it. Trent McDuffie, he's done a great job filling in for L'Jarius Sneed, who went off to the Tennessee Titans, but Jalen Watson is just now getting healthy, and that's the guy that he's trusted across the field from him. So we'll have to see how the secondary does, but they have a really, I mean, this is going to be one of the most challenging offenses they will face. And as we've seen before, Josh Allen, the guy, I mean, he might not have the athleticism that Lamar Jackson has, but he won't go down. And he's so hard to bring down.
You know, it's funny when you think about it. You joke that it's like divisional games, but it kind of is. So in terms of coming up with something different, when you do meet twice a year, you know, the Bills have seen the blitzes. They know that, you know, he brings the blitz sometimes on second down with a corner and on third down with a linebacker. I think the one thing when I see the Chiefs play is Karlaftis spends a lot of time in the backfield. This guy is making plays. We always think of Chris Jones. He'll make huge plays. He'll deflect passes. He did it last year in the playoffs against the Bills, but George Karlaftis has been very effective for them defensively.
Yeah, I mean, he had, I believe he had 3 sacks against the Texans. Again, different offensive line. I'm not trying to compare it too much, but what he's been able to do, and then you add in a guy like Leo Chanel and what he's continued to do, there's just too many names. We bring up Turk Wharton. We bring up the addition of Charles Omenihu, who's now back with the Chiefs. You bring up the interior with Chris Jones and what he's able to do. But George Karlaftis has been this guy who he's actually gotten a little bit of those sack counts, and he's been creeping up into the territory of what Chris Jones would usually put up in a season. And really, I think it's because of how Spagnuolo uses him. So there's a different variation for what Spags does, and it's so interesting to see year from year. How players develop within his system, and then how he tailors it to the strong suits. So if there's any guy who knows, I mean, seriously, if there's any defensive coordinator who maybe has a argument for why he should be in the Hall of Fame, it's Steve Spagnuolo. So whatever he comes up with, I'll have trust in that. But to act like I have the football IQ to understand what he's thinking would be absurd.
Yeah. Well, there's offensive coordinators who feel that way too, because we see them not adjust to what he's doing.
Haley, this last week, Mike and I crunched tape. We watched all 22. I got deep into
the weeds.
I got into the weeds with weighted DVOA. Like I was all in there. Like,
and when we were done, we looked and said, Kelsey always gets open.
Yeah.
That was it. That's what we came up with.
It's pretty much
I know
it.
there's no stat to quantify it. You can't. And I remember even talking to the guy who founded DVOA. And I was like, how can you put into terms what Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid does? And he goes, I can't. We just call it the Andy Reid Patrick Mahomes effect. I'm like, that's a long title. He's like, well, it's what we go with.
Speaking of that effect, there has been this freshness, I think, that we've talked about in Buffalo, whether it's the absence of Diggs or Josh becoming, you know, the way that this roster has been kind of built. It feels fresh, new energy. To go back to another AFC championship game with all these things, how has it stayed fresh? How has the message not gotten stale and the vibes around the team? Because it's like, oh, well, it's just another AFC championship. Like, how does it feel there, maybe around the city first and then in the locker room?
You mean in terms of Kansas City, just making it to a 7th? The fact that Patrick Mahomes has done nothing less, like the worst year that he had, he lost the AFC championship game. What a loser. Yeah. I mean, God, you can't do it. I mean, the fact that that's the worst he's done since taking over as a starter, I think, again, sometimes it's hard to even wrap your mind around that's what he's been able to do in such a short time in the league. And then I think really people here in Kansas City, now the youngins, I'm going to exclude myself. I'm in the 30 and above, so I'm not going to put myself in that category.
Man.
Okay?
Seriously.
Wow.
Those
Mike, what are you
youngins
in?
don't
Yeah, I'm
know
in the 30
anything
and above.
different.
Yeah,
Yes.
Mike's also a 30 and above.
That's it.
Yeah.
He is. We're in the same category now.
Exactly.
But I just think people don't realize that this wasn't what the norm was. You know, there was once a losing team in Kansas City. There was once there was once not a Patrick Mahomes. This is a new thing for Kansas City. So I think people are still really excited about it. As far as the locker room and that culture goes, for how they keep it fresh, how they keep themselves identified on that just main goal of getting back to the Super Bowl. It's cliche and you can make fun of me, but they constantly say, we just take it one week at a time.
One game at a time.
You can't go past. And really, I mean, if you think about it, you really can't approach it any way differently, or you'll lose yourself in it.
Yeah. You said that's the worst Mahomes has done. I think the worst he's done is those cell phone commercials. I think he was good in State Farm. Those things they're awful. Like I maybe it's just me. Oh,
yeah.
Maybe it's just because we see him every 2 minutes. I don't know. He's been better. How about that? He's been better than he was in those.
It's insufferable if you're not a Chiefs fan to like the NFL right now. I get that.
Yeah, it is. I think it's the three-peat, right? I mean, that has never been done. That has to be what brings energy here. Like, obviously, they have a chance to go to the Super Bowl, but nobody's ever done it in all these years. And if you think about it, this span of football, I mean, even it would end up being better than what the Patriots did if you win 3 in a row. Is that talked about at all?
Okay, so
I'm talking about in the locker room again.
Interesting enough, the Chiefs actually hired me to do something for them week 1, and I remember in the contract. Maybe I'm outing myself. Maybe I shouldn't say this.
That's right. Nobody will watch this. Yeah,
I was not allowed. Like you were not allowed, but stay away from. Don't use words like dynasty, dynastic. Don't say three-peat. All these different words and verbiage around what obviously the Chiefs are very much so fixated on doing, not saying those things. And I think that that's because it starts from the top down, right? They don't want to put it on tape. They don't want to say it. They don't want to talk about it, because if they do, then it could become the focus and then they wouldn't be actually fixated on step by step getting it done. I muted myself because
because you were going to use those words and the Chiefs are watching you.
They knew. They were like, wait, Hayley's talking about contract stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
They did. I quite literally accidentally knocked it. And
actually, that was the refs. That was the refs again.
Again.
It's unbelievable.
Clint Blakeman, get out of here.
That's it.
Hey, I saw a video of Mahomes and a ref kissing online. That was wild.
That's real, right?
Hey, love is love. Love is love. But I thought that was a little bit inappropriate for the NFL to be making out with Mahomes.
I don't know about you, Dan, but I saw a referee go over and comfort your quarterback on the sideline. So I don't know about you.
Well, now Josh says he was being scolded by the referee, told him to stop complaining.
Pat on the shoulder doesn't look like that.
This is why it's the best. I had to get there. I was like, I wonder if Hayley's seen this video. This is crazy. What the things that go on online.
I just hope to God the AI has got to get controlled.
That's for sure.
I'm having a hard time differentiating what's real and what's not.
Yeah. So is the rest of the NFL. We appreciate it as always, Hayley. Make sure to follow all of your stuff. Chiefs, where can we find your stuff again?
At Hayley Lewis _sports. That pretty much puts you on Twitter, Instagram. TikTok is back, baby. I know, Mike, you're so excited about that.
My account got suspended. I don't know what I did, but we're back. We're all back.
There you go.
We'll see you in KC.
So I'm going to be covering the Shrine Bowl in Dallas this weekend. So
nice.
I'll be covering the future prospects of the league.
Isn't that something? We're to this point where they're already looking to next year while we still have football for this weekend. So there we go.
Unbelievable. Hayley Lewis, as always, like I said, we were talking about it before, Mount Rushmore guest.
That's it.
Mount Rushmore guest. This is like 5 or 6 times on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. We appreciate it. As always, make sure to give her a follow. Mike and I and Jenna will all be heading out to Kansas City. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe and share. Appreciate it as always, Hayley. Thanks so much for watching here on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel.